Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chalavet Movies. My name is John and this video is going to be my top 10 Section 3 banned video nasties. So these Section 3 movies weren't banned outright, but the video libraries were urged not to have them on their shelves because if anyone came in, like the police came in and done a raid, they could take these movies off the shelves and destroy them. So I think it was in the best interest for the video retailers to keep these movies off the shelves. Now imagine back in the day when you knew that these videos were available but you tried to get your hands on them, but all the video shops really just didn't sell them because they didn't want the hassle probably, and I can understand that. There was a few shops where you could sort of say to the fellas, do you have such and such, and if they knew you well enough they would get that movie because they had the sort of, I'm sure they had them hidden around in the establishment. But it just goes to show that these movies, if I was asking for some of these movies, you know, somebody who doesn't know about the banned video nasties, if I was asking for a certain title on here and I had to go like by nefarious actions to get it, it's quite amazing. Now you can just walk in HMV and just pick them off the shelf and get them, and it's just crazy to think that some of these titles are on there. There's some of these titles actually that you would have thought would have been in the banned video nasties list, and there's some of them that you think, what a travesty to have this on any list in any shape or form, because the movie to me isn't one that you would consider a video nasty. So these 10 movies I would consider to be all classics. I can watch these movies over and over again. Some of them you might not think that. I mean, some of them are a little bit, you wouldn't say they were classics, but they're classics to me. So this is how I've ranked them. I've ranked them just with enjoyability. I get a lot of fun out of these movies, and I've watched them time and time again over the years. And in fact, I would dread to think how many times I've watched some of these movies. So let's see what we've got in the top 10. So coming in at number 10 is Friday the 13th Part 2. Now I consider to be Friday the 13th to be my favourite franchise, and I like all the movies, maybe 9 not so much, but I can get away with all of them. I have fun with all the movies in the franchise, and Part 2 is one of my favourites, but it's not my all-time favourite. So if some of the other ones that were like that I prefer more were higher on the list, this will be higher up. This is why this is at number 10. This is no slight to Friday the 13th Part 2. I think it's a really solid movie. But for enjoyment factor, I get enjoyment out of these other titles more. And I think this year that some of the Friday the 13th will come out in 4K. It'll be great to see them. I think they'll get a great job, especially if they did like the Halloween box set. So at number 10, that's Friday the 13th Part 2. So at number 9 is a comedy classic. It is Zombie Lake. I've talked about this movie quite a few times, and I must admit that I have so much fun with this movie because really it doesn't make any sense. It's not good. It's like bizarrely entertaining for them reasons. So this movie tells a story about these zombies who get reanimated in this lake for whatever reason, and I think it's because a team of volleyball girls go swimming in their lake, or should I say their swimming pool, because you can see when the girls are in the lake, you can see the tiles of a swimming pool. You can actually see, you know, the steps that you need to get out of the swimming pool in this lake. I think all they've done is just drop some algae into a swimming pool. So yeah, and it's just crazy fun. And sometimes these movies, I don't know why, this probably was the fact of, I don't even know why this was on this probably just because it had the word zombie in the title. The movie itself is just an out and out, it's one of those movies, it's so inept, and I don't think they were trying to make it that way. It just turned out that way because it showed up that these people just really couldn't make decent films. Jean Rollin actually directed this, but I think there was a lot of confusion about who was actually going to direct it. And I think he ended up doing it, and it's just a bit of a mess, but it's such an enjoyable mess. If you go into this movie just saying, right, I'm just going to have some fun with a movie that doesn't make any sense, it's got some preposterous storylines in it, and the effects are garbage, and I think you would just really like this movie if you're in that type of frame of mind. So that's at number 9, that's Zombie Lake. Coming in at number 8 is another comedy classic. It is Nightmare City. This is a movie by Umberto Lenzi, and it's really good. It's another one, it's a bit like Zombie Lake. You'll not see another one like it. The people in here, I don't know if they're zombies. I think they're more people who have been struck by a virus, and what they do is they just come off a plane and they just wreak havoc in this whole area where they are, this city. And the movie is got one of the greatest endings, I think the greatest endings of all time, because it's so stupid and bad, and it does make you feel like you're being cheated when you first see it, but you know, if you can put that behind you. So this movie is highly entertaining. I feel that it's very gory as well. I do understand why this was talked about in this list, although I think the one in the UK that was took off the shelves didn't have any of these stuff in here. I think this is a full and cut version, which wasn't on the VHS, I believe. And if you want to see a movie that is just fun-packed, it's just non-stop action from start to finish, and if you want to see one of the worst endings of all time, check out Nightmare City by Umberto Lenzi. I do believe that you will have so much fun with it, and treat it like it is. It's just a bit of fun, and don't get too tied up in it, because it's just really just for pure enjoyment. So that's at number 8, that's Nightmare City. So now we've got the comedy stuff out of the way. Coming in at number 7 is Pigs. Now I find this movie to be an absolute classic. I didn't know anything about it when I got it, and I didn't even know it was on a Barn Video Nasties list until I was looking at all these titles. I didn't know it was on the Section 3 list at all. When I look at it, it has got some gore in it. It has got that kind of real grindhouse feel about it. It's an early 70s movie, very low budget, and the premise is that this person goes to stay in this out of the way hotel, and she becomes a waitress. But she's got real issues, and also the bloke who owns this out of the way hotel or sort of gas station, he is feeding people to pigs. He kills people and feeds them to pigs. So between the two of them, they form this very unlikely friendship. And also the writer director is the real life father of the woman in this movie, which makes this movie a little bit more stranger when you do realise some of the sort of way that this movie goes. But I do urge anybody who is a fan of exploitation classics to go and try and find this movie, because treat it for what it is. It's a low budget, early 70s movie, very grindhouse, but I really do like that type of movie. It really it's very watchable to me. I probably like watching more of these than I do the latest Hollywood blockbuster, if I'm honest. And so this is one that I can highly recommend. It took me by surprise, I've got to admit. There was no way that I was thinking I was going to have a good time with this, but I was really surprised at how good this was. So this is really a one that I watch a lot. It's probably one of the most sort of exploitational low budget movie that I watch in my collection. So that's at number 7, that's Pigs. So coming in at number 6 is Shogun Assassin. Now this movie is cobbled together from 2 movies in this franchise, the Lone Wolf and Cub franchise, the Baby Cart franchise. This edition from Criterion is absolutely spectacular. And it does say on here, there's a high definition presentation of Shogun Assassin, a 1980 English dub redo of the first 2 Lone Wolf and Cub films. So what they've done is, not that you would know this, I didn't know this for a long time, that this movie has been kind of remixed in a way. It's got a great soundtrack. It sounds like it's out from a computer game, and it's ultra violent. The whole series is ultra violent, but it's one of these ones where you can't believe what you're seeing actually when you first see it. I honestly thought this was in the Section 1 Barn Video Nasties because of its violence. But it wasn't actually, although it was very hard to see in VHS. I don't think I saw it in VHS at all. It's another one that I got. I went to the bootleggers for this one, but I do highly recommend anybody seeing Shogun Assassin if you can. I do know that it's out by, I forget which company it is, but they've released one. I had it on Steelbook, and I must admit the print is really scratchy, and I didn't like it at all. I thought it was going to be really ultra, really good, but it wasn't. So the Criterion one in here is lovely. As these films all look absolutely brilliant. It's a bit expensive, but it's well worth the money if you can get it, because it comes with basically 7 films for your money. So that's why it's probably a little bit more expensive. And it's got a great, amazing package as well. So that's at number 6. That's Shogun Assassin. So getting into the top 5 of these movies, you'd be surprised at how good these movies are. Every one I'm going to pull out from now on is going to be a classic. And these movies here, I consider to be some of my favourite horror movies of all time. And I would imagine most people watching this would have some of these in their top 10. So this is another amazing part of this whole journey in the video nasties, to see exactly what was classed as a video nasty. And it makes you, again, it makes you think that how ludicrous this whole thing was, but when you were caught up and the press got a hold of it, there was literally no way of getting out of it. You could not see these movies for love and the money. I'm just so glad that that's all behind us. We don't have to think about those things in this day and age. I'm so glad to be making this video. Actually, if I had said to my friends back in the day when we were trying to get these movies out, 20, 30 years later, I'll be talking about them. Most of these are available in 4K as well. They would sort of think I was cracking jokes. So anyway, at number 5 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now this movie, I'll have to, because I always do this, I'll have to show my signed Gunnar Hansen picture, which is one of my prized possessions. I do think about putting it up somewhere, but then I think, well, do I want it out to the light? I think I'll just keep it in here for the moment. So this movie is available on 4K, but I haven't got it on 4K. I do want to get it on 4K, but I do think that somebody in the UK will pick it up on 4K. So this version here is from Second Sight. It's a great version. It's got 2 discs. It's got everything you could want in here. I just think that maybe actually, now I'm saying Second Sight, who do 4Ks, maybe they could pick this up and run with it. So that's something that does sound interesting when you think about it. The fact that you could get this one up in 4K. It's never going to look the best on 4K because it's a 16mm film, but I'll just like to think that if we can put HDR on it and do a bit of a good remaster on it, we could see a little bit more depth to this movie. So I think this movie is absolutely brilliant. I loved it the first time I saw it, and I think it is quite a nasty film in essence. It's got this air of grubbiness about it, this kind of realistic way they've put this movie together. Now remember this sort of the crawl that they do at the start of it, where this man is talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and as if he was reading it off like a newscaster. I remember my wife said no, she hasn't seen the movie, but she did see the start of it, and she said, "Is this a true story?" Like, and she thought it looked like a documentary, and I says, "Well, it's not really, but it's based on a few things that were real." So it just shows you what that can do, like have that sort of grim overdub of somebody talking about this movie, and it did present it as if it was a sort of real thing, real movie documentary style, and I think it worked for that. I think it was played out much better than it would have done, as the other films sometimes become more movie-esque. I think if they could be a bit more sort of documentary style as this one is, or a documentary feel, I think that probably the sequels would have been a bit better. Although I do quite like the sequels. I have got them all, I think, apart from the latest one, or the latest 2. I get confused with this movie because there's that many movies out. They're probably all called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well, which confuses everybody. So anyway, so 1974, absolute classic. I will be upgrading this to 4K when it comes out and on 4K. And can't say too much about it because it is, like I say, literally a classic. That's at number 5. That's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So at number 4, like I say, these movies are getting more classic as they're going along, is the 4K of The Thing. Now, this one is a one that you just would never think would be on this list. And I do remember actually in the video shops, this one was one of the ones that didn't seem to really ever get taken out. I remember going and getting the thing out a lot of times because really, when you used to get these sort of really bad horror films and then you couldn't get them anymore, you would like navigate to the thing all the time, even though it kind of is a horror film, but it was more classed as a sci-fi movie, but it had all the elements of horror as well. So for me, I just think that this is one of the ones that should never have been on the list, and I think maybe even the people in the video shops thought they'd just leave it on the shelves, and I don't think it was ever taken off as far as I know. I had always had access to it. That's why I think I got it out that much, because it was probably one of the most glorious movies in the video shop at that particular time, like 85, 86. So the movie itself is one of my favourite movies of all time. It's one of my favourite John Carpenter films. There's nothing bad I can say about this movie. The 4K to me looks absolutely stunning. I was just such a wow factor with this movie. I did put it off for a bit to watch it again because I knew this was coming out. I'm so glad I did. Even though I could watch this movie time and time again, and I have watched this movie time and time again. It's one of those movies that you can just watch and just revel in, and I never get tired of it as well. Some of these movies you think, oh well, I've seen them 100 times, I don't really need to see them again, but The Thing is not one of them. So that's at number 4, that's The Thing. So coming in at number 3 is by far the best looking horror 4K that I've got in my collection. It's leaps and bounds above all the other ones, and it is of course Suspiria. This movie, I've talked about this movie a lot of times. Everybody knows that I think this is just an absolute gem, and it is. This movie looks spectacular in 4K. I don't think I was expecting it to look good, but I wasn't expecting it to look this good. I have seen other versions on sort of really good remasters of it, but they can't touch this one. This movie itself is just like something you've never seen before. The way that Dario Argento shot this movie with all the colours that he put in makes this movie a visual treat. And obviously, I think as well the Goblin soundtrack really is amazing. I've got the soundtrack on CD as well from another version. And yeah, so just I can't really say anything more about this movie. I can't really say anything more about this top 10 apart from the fact that just if you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. If you want to see it in its ultimate the way it looks, do get this version. I don't think it's easy to get, but if you can get it, I urge anybody to get it. I mean, As soon as I knew this was coming out, I ordered it immediately because I knew that I probably would have had a lot of problems getting it down the line. And then, of course, this is one of the ones where you think it's got to be got first. I'm so glad I did. I do know that I secured what I consider to be the benchmark of 4K horror. I don't know how any movies can sort of go better than this, because I don't know if there's any movies that look better than this in the sort of horror pantheon, especially like old horror movies. And I think that's why this movie is unique. I don't really want to watch the remake or whatever it is. I did watch the first 10 minutes of it and I had a headache after it because of this woman particularly crying and sort of screaming. Didn't do anything for me. I just think that this movie, I don't really want to go that way, but this movie here, I think that it's just a unique movie, and for that reason it's so high on the list. So this movie, I feel, is just a must for horror fans. And if you want to have that your system, this is the demo disc. I think that you will be so amazed by it and impressed by it. And really, if you want to get this movie and you think about getting like a cheaper 4K or one from Italy which don't have HDR on it, this movie definitely needs HDR, which this version has. Save your money up and just put it into one pot and just get this movie, because you'll never look back once you've seen it. I know I didn't. I can never watch this in any other form, because you know how spectacular this can look in glorious 4K. So that's number 3, that's Suspiria. So coming up at number 2 is a movie that I was kind of just debating whether or not to put at 3 or 2. I can basically say that this and Suspiria are kind of neck and neck. But at this time, I put this one just a little bit further forward. Sometimes you'll do this. Sometimes Suspiria might be a little bit higher up the list. It's just what you do on the day, isn't it? So at number 2, I've got Dawn of the Dead. Now this box set here is the zenith of this presentation. It looks spectacular. It's got all the stuff that you could want to do with Dawn of the Dead. I know it hasn't got the full version on it, which you can find online. I have watched the full version, and I think that it's a shame that they couldn't get the little bits. I think there's about maybe 10 minutes that's missing out of the longest version in here. I think they could have got them bits and just put them into the movie, or put them in as extras. I think that would have been great to have that. But anyway, I'm not taking anything away from this set. It's got 3 versions of the movie on. You've got the longer version, you've got the theatrical cut, and you've also got the Dario Argento producer's cut. And they're all brilliant. I'll get a lot of fun out of all of them. I think they're all different. Dario Argento's cut is much different to George Romero cut. So you get a lot of bang for your buck if you want to go into here. It gets all the soundtracks. It's the definitive version of this movie. And to get this on 4K when it was languishing and it was just out of print everywhere, you couldn't get it. Now this makes me think, I would love to think that Second Sight again could get their hands on Day of the Dead and do the same to that, because that one's kind of languishing in the same sort of netherworlds that Dawn of the Dead was in for a good 10 years, and you just couldn't get your hands on this. And well, this wasn't cheap, but now I've got it. I don't need to buy this ever again. There's no way this could be ever topped for me. But this one was the one that everyone sort of followed. Every movie or every person who's made a movie since then has got to have seen Dawn of the Dead in some shape or form. And that's made them look to how they're going to do their own version of it. Some of the Italian movies that came out were just blatant copies of this, even though Zombie by Lucio Fulci was meant to be a sequel to this, like unofficial sequel to this. But some of the other ones that came out, like Zombie Creeping Flesh, were just kind of just a complete remake of this movie, obviously ineptly remade, but fun nevertheless. So for me, this is one of those quintessential zombie movies. That's at number 2, that's Dawn of the Dead. So coming in at number 1 of my top 10 banned video nasties in the Section 3 list is Deep Red. This should be of no surprise to you, actually. This is my favourite Dario Argento movie. It's one of my favourite horror movies of all time. And this is the 4K and it looks absolutely spectacular. If you've got the 4K remastered Blu-ray, it is better, but it's not a huge uptick, unfortunately. If you haven't got any of these movies at all, this movie, in any way, shape or form, you'll be blown away by this. Now the best thing about this is that it's on this 4K, this special edition. I don't know about the regular edition, I'll have to look into that you can get the shorter version. Now the shorter version for me works really well. The longer version with the sort of Italian sort of inserts into it doesn't really work that well. I think a lot of people who watched it with the Italian version, which is available on the regular Blu-ray of Deep Red, some people found it long and off-putting because some of the stuff they put in is sort of like some Italian humour, which kind of doesn't work that way. I must admit, when I watched Deep Red, I watched the shorter version first, then I watched the longer version, thinking, oh, this is going to be really good, I'm going to get more bang for me buck. And I didn't like it at all, if I'm honest. I thought, wow, I'll never go back to that one. I will watch it again on here, but it's not really a movie that I think the pace suffers for having an extra 15 minutes in it. So this is the limited edition original artwork from the Arrow store. I don't know why they've left the back blank, because the other one, which isn't the limited edition, does have something on the back. So I think the other one is quite better in a way, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm only quibbling over terms. So yeah. So if you've never seen a giallo movie and you're interested in it, do pick up this movie, because I think that you'll find that this is everything the giallo should be. And if you like the style of movie, you should look into the other giallos, which I've had a great time. And usually when I get a giallo, I know I'm in for a good movie with some plot twists that are quite interesting. Actually, this one's got a brilliant plot twist in it as well. So yeah, so that's number one. That's Deep Red. Well, February is shaping up to be quite a good month for Video Nasties getting released. Now, I've picked up, since I decided to do this in January, the 1st of January, to say, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these Video Nasties I'm missing. I have picked up quite a few, so what I might do is at the end of February, definitely, I will do an update on what I've picked up in the way of the movies that I've got. I'll be trying to get some more in February, maybe from other places. I've got a few lined up that I might have to get in DVD, and I'll tell you why I'm getting them on DVD at the moment. It seems that this year there's quite a few going to be released, even some of the really hard to get ones that you never thought you would have picked up this year. So I'm excited to sort of see where my journey leads this year. I feel a little bit more confident now, knowing that there's a few more coming out than I was when I first went into this. So thanks for watching, you take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.